Hello, I'm Wafflestick, and welcome back to the WayStone Season 3, Episode 13. We're currently standing next to the witch farm that we had made last episode. It looks like we have a few witches in there that's going to be going down into the killing system. Good stuff, because I want to check and see what we've got as far as drops. But I wanted to get away from this. I've been living and breathing this for the last couple of days, and get away from redstone this episode. We're going to be doing some building, and in this area, I thought to take advantage of this swamp area and make it my secondary area for projects, because we're always working on the hive and I need something else to tinker with. So before we do begin this episode, I really would like to see what we've got in our drop chutes in our collection system, and hopefully we at least got 2 double chests filled with stuff. So let's go to the bottom. I've been AFK here and there, but I can't really tell you how consistent it's been because people have been getting on the server and taking up the hostile mob cap. But let's go and take a look and see what we have. So we have a full double chest there and a full double chest. Oh, and very close to a full double chest on these as well, which is quite impressive because they haven't done a lot of AFK. Wow, we've got a bunch of glowstone to work with, so we can use that in our design today. And I wonder if there's any deserts in the nearby vicinity. I'm going to take a look around, see if I can find one, because we're going to need some glass. We're going to make this area look magical. You know how people normally build very dismal in swamps. I want to do the opposite. I want to make it look like a very magical area whenever we do implement this village. And I thought just incorporating it onto the water would be a great thing. Instead of going to the islands at first, which we can at some point, but I just wanted to start in the waterway with a village. I thought that'd be neat. And that could somehow lead up into the land masses and making use of those. But let's go ahead and take a look around, see if we can find some resources so we can begin building on this. We're going to have to do a lot of tree chopping. You know, when I was working around my witch farm, I had noticed this really cool structure up here, and it reminds me of something. I don't know if you're going to get it right off. I will tell you in a moment so that you can make the connection. But just take a look at this and see what it reminds you of. And we may be making use of this area too, depending on how far we get with that project. That purple in the water looks very nice. And I believe there's some more terrain over in this area, and it reminds me a bit of my single player survival series. I need to make a video on my single player. I need to get back into that world, start building a bit, because I miss it. It's been a really fun world so far. Very cool. And I've noticed some plains biomes over here. Couldn't find a village. I was going to do a couple of villagers at my newly built village in the swamp biome. But unfortunately, there's nothing nearby. I'll have to admit that and try to find a village that's close. But we do have a good variation of wood. We've got a birch wood forest. We've got some spruce up here, very nice, and a bunch of oak in the area. And I want to make use of oak and spruce, sort of like I did in my single player. I'm going to take some inspiration from it because that first beginning area had a nice look to it. And so we've just got to go into creative mode and start building a bit and get an idea of what the huts are going to look like, because that's going to be what sets it off. Oh, it's going to be a challenge to make this place look happy rather than dismal. That generated terrain reminded me of a witch hat. I thought it'd be a cool future project if we got out that far. It's quite ambitious to get that far out in the lands, but I think we could get there if we focus on building in the swamp and expanding it. And so I was going to begin with a village, but now I want to do work on the biome to make it look like a magical place. Now this is a creative world. I went into a new world and we're just kind of looking at the palette for the swamp. And you may notice right away, it's very dismal. It looks very sad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It looks very sad. So to change this, I thought to introduce some color, some subtle color, but in a cool way. And not only that, but introduce new trees. I've got just some jungle saplings here, if you didn't notice. I'm going to do a jungle tree right here. Just kind of pop that up like this. If we can. Is it going to grow for us yet? Is it these lily pads? I think it's the lily pads. Yeah. So popping that up. That looks very magical in itself, I think. I mean, personally, my thought. And then we could improve this by using some color. And I'm going to do some glass panes. I thought it'd be really cool. We can interchange purple and magenta. So we can just kind of, you know, like speckle this about like this. Very easy alteration. It doesn't take any time at all. And this is relatively cheap. It's not an expensive alternative. So I'm just going to connect a few different glass colors in here. They look subtle enough to where you don't notice them right away. But as you can see, you've got some depth going on there. And you know, even like these branches, we could bring this down like this. And you know, it gives it a very magical effect, like magic's dripping off this tree. Very neat. I like that. I think it looks cool. And so I want to work with that. And you know, possibly we could do some cocoa beans to really set off the color of things. So, you know, just popping in some extra color like here and there. Not too much of it, subtle. And then we could just bone mill that to grow those to take a look. It's got a different color vibe to it than normally what you see in the swamp. And my idea is to do this with every tree, but then every now and then have a jungle tree so that we're not doing as much work, but we're still changing the biome enough that we notice it. And, you know, I thought maybe even incorporating some cobwebs would be cool. You know, just kind of stick those in the corners here and there. Because we don't make use of cobwebs much, and I really would like to start making use of them again. And, you know, you cannot really have a magical place and an old ancient place without some cobwebs here and there. Maybe not above the water. That looks kind of weird. And in the corners, like right here. So that really fits in well. And it does transform it into a much more magical place, introducing color in a subtle way and depth as well. I thought that was cool. Now, thinking about panes, we could try maybe some green. I don't know how well this is going to look. I mean, purple and green look obviously good together, but the only problem is, if I were to implement it with this tree, then there's a really hard separation between those glass panes. And I don't know if I like that much. So we're just going to take these away without breaking the tree, hopefully. A poor tree. Let me replace you real quick. So just pop those up. And, you know, we could maybe interchange this so we can just put some green glass in this tree. Just like that. Nothing too crazy. I don't know, maybe bend over so it's, nubbing out? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll try this. I've got to separate this up a bit. It's getting a little bit clumpy. You know what? We could stretch this over like that and it would work. So cool. Actually, that does look pretty neat with the purple. And if we were to just speckle it about in the trees in the background as well, that's going to help spread it out a bit. Now, as far as the ground, it's going to be a bit difficult to work with. And I was looking at these grass blocks growing underneath the water side. We could speed up that progression and take this dirt out, you know, just kind of silk touch some grass blocks, put it into the riverside. And that's going to give it a nice color. Look at that color. It looks much better than the dirt, I think. I want to try that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to keep the clay patches. Kind of strange. As far as the ground, we may want to add some variation to it as well. So I'm going to do some carpet, not wool. Let's get some carpet, try some purple. So, you know, some glowstone underneath this so we can get rid of some of those ugly torches. And there's a very magical pop to that color. It's very poppy. It just leaps out at you. But, you know, from a distance, you wouldn't note it as much. And that's my primary purpose of doing this. Making it pop, making it look very nice from a distance. So yeah, I think we'll work on the biome a bit on the WayStone using these methods, and we may toss in a few others. I really like this. Now, as far as the cobwebs, they're a bit sharp in contrast, so I may have to reduce the amount I use. Let's hop back on the WayStone, see what we can do with this. What a lovely tavern build. That looks so good. I wish I could have been at the grand opening a couple of days ago, and this is called the Drunken Monk, I think. Yeah, that's right. And it's beginning to rain. It's really strange to see spawn, because I've only seen swampland for the last couple of days because of the tutorial and the episode for the witch farm. Hey, look, there's Frimp. Frimp, what are you doing out here? Oh, I know why you're the way you are. You've been over to the Drunken Monk, you silly cat. Yeah, Frimp, this is a really great place, man. I can see why you've been here. Oh my god. This is just disgusting. Like, everything and everyone has literally been to the Drunken Monk. Hey there, fella, you want to go to the Drunken Monk? Yeah, I'll go. Okay, I'm done. Let's go back over to the swamp area. I've got all the materials I need, I believe, for this. I just gotta gather some dye, and we should be good to go to get started on this project. We're gonna probably be doing it in a form of a time lapse. If you've noticed this season, I have stepped up my game when it comes to time lapses, and I've been using the replay mod, but unfortunately we had a server crash, And that is going to affect how many clips I get and I have to stitch together. And not only that, but it's going to reduce the quality. So I had ultimately decided I'm just going to do progress updates because I'm scared that we're going to get into the middle of this and it's going to crash. So one thing I fear. So we're just going to work on this a bit. We're going to do some progress updates. And I've contacted the administrator about the server status. He's going to try to get to it. Hopefully he fixes it soon because I'm going to miss my replay mod. And we've done a bit so far. If we were to take a look around, let me just go and put some of that glass there. We'll come back to that. But I've done a few jungle trees. I've done some trees in the distance over here. So I think the best place to view this is up on top of my witch farm. If I can land properly, there we go. So a jungle tree right there. And I need to put some cocoa beans on that. But we do have a few cocoa beans lingering on that jungle tree. Yeah, I think it looks cool. And I'm using lime wool instead of purple for whatever reason. And I've done some trees over here to a certain distance, which I've got to get back there further. So I'm going to work on this for a minute, and I'm going to try to find some orchids because they look cool in the magical scene of things. And I'll get back with you on a progress update. Progress update, boring. Look at all of those naked sheep in there. I've been trimming some wool because unfortunately lime green wool looks ugly in the swamp biome, and I didn't expect it. I didn't really notice it until we started putting a bunch of it down. And I was like, no, we're not going to do lime green wool. It looks terrible. So I decided to come over to Dom's area and make use of his AFK sheep farm. I haven't seen him in a few weeks, and his shop isn't stocked, so I thought, well, I'll just help myself over at his base. I'm going to get a bunch of wool, go back over, try some other colors because lime wool just isn't going to cut it. I knew this was a good idea, and I'm glad I'd done it. I brought some jungle leaves over. I thought it looked really nice, and it has this really nice effect to it as it's like dense bushel compared to having just leaves to put around the place. Because if we were to spread these around, it's going to look strange, you know, the same block on the ground. And I feel it's got that vine effect to it. It's got a very nice viney look to it. Very nice. And so I'm going to continue a bit of that, but I've also got to implement some of these blocks because I need some other color to work with this purple. And the purple looks nice. I like it. It's going to take some getting used to, this enchanty fill. But I think it blends in a lot better than the lime green wool because obviously it really sticks out, lime green wool. Usually it looks the best in the swamp biome, but yeah, this looks a lot better. And, you know, to some people this would make sense if the window panes weren't on the trees. I think the trees kind of define what this area is. You know, if we just put these on the ground, people would be like, why do you have purple all over the ground? But now I think it's justified enough that we can put these on the ground. And these orchids do look lovely. I wonder if you bone mill, I'm just curious, I wonder if you bone mill the ground. Oh, you do get orchids in the swamp if you bone mill. Why did I not know that? That's awesome. That's going to make our job so much easier. That's grand. Awesome stuff. So I'm going to continue with this for a while and I'll get back with you guys. I've ran out of panes, so I can't really do any more trees. We'll see how far we can get on land for now. My biggest issue as a Minecraft YouTuber, I have ran into it this week, and that's the reason the episode is late. I'm not going to blame anyone but myself for this, and I want to know your solution. It could happen to people who don't record as well. Creativity. You would think it'd be like something technical, but no, it's creativity. I had ran into that barrier this week. But fortunately, we have revitalized the area, and it's looking so much better than what I thought it was going to. And this has motivated me once again. I was coming home dreading this project because I was trying to exaggerate the alterations instead of revamping the swampland around and integrating it into the design. And fortunately, this is looking so much better than I thought it was going to, because we have used a lot of bone meal. We've used the orchids and the blues and the purples to make this look very magical, and it's just dripping magic. I love it. I think it looks great, especially with the granite and the oak. Obviously, we got to put in, you know, other blocks, maybe some pumpkins here and there to give it a bit of a menacing theme, but not too far in. I want to keep it lighthearted. And, you know, I'm glad I finally got past that barrier. It happens every now and then. I'm just kind of sharing my struggles. It happens. So let me know down in the comment section your opinions on that. But up here, I'm unfortunately bone milled. I shouldn't have. I'm going to be building something in this area. And someone said in my tutorial comments to name my farm the Witch's Circle. But I think I want to build a Witch's Circle right here. And I will be crediting them. That's where I got my idea from. Oh yes, we're going to be doing that and then trying to finish off the episode. Oh man, I'm finally glad to have gotten somewhere I could start building and just appreciating the time I spend on here. And rather than going into creative and looking at color palettes all day. But yeah, this looks nice. I'm impressed. Good stuff. Now let's work on a build up here. The Witch's Circle, maybe add some depth into it. Be a neat idea to implement. Oh, hi sheep. I'm more inclined to call this the Wizard Circle rather than the Witch's Circle because it's a very light-hearted, enchanty build compared to a Witch's Circle, which is kind of dismal and just not very fun. And so I went with some purple carpet and purple glass in the center. I thought that looked cool. It's just more of an aesthetic build. It's, you know, serves no purpose. And I wanted to keep it that way, keep it simple because I've got a bunch of areas to work on around here, especially behind the witch farm and over in that direction. I think the trees look nice, but it's still a bit dull out that way, and that's what the major issue was this episode. But I think once we start filling in the waterway with different builds, then it's going to really pop, and it's going to look a lot better. I mean, obviously we have the ocean here. That could be a weird thing. We could make it work. We could build like a neat looking wall or structure between the ocean and the riverside. I thought that'd be neat. A lot of stuff that we can do, but I really like this island and what we've done with it. If we were to take a look from the sky, it doesn't look as good because you're looking at all the details spread out on their own. I mean, it looks very colorful. It doesn't look too bad. But, you know, having the grass to cover up a lot of that color and have it blend into the environment looks a lot better. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be it. Hope you guys did enjoy this episode, and we'll see you next episode. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I wouldn't mind looking at some ideas for this area. You guys have a fantastic day.